Hey friends. I am officially 28 weeks today. It's been a very interesting week. We had Christmas this past week and there's been a lot of up and down with kiddos, with babies, not kiddo, with babies' movements this week. There were like a couple days that were very quiet and then a couple days that were really active, and that's just kind of been her pattern. I was told by my doctor weeks ago that on week 28 is when they expect to start doing kick counts, which is like every 2 hours, or not every 2 hours. It's funny because there's so many different resources and every single one of them is something different. But the consensus seems to be that you pick a 2-hour window where you know that your baby is at their most active and you're meant to count at least 10 kicks in that 2-hour window, and that's when you know baby is okay. If baby doesn't do 10 kicks in those 2 hours, then you should be concerned. You should go into, ER and get checked out. So I keep telling my husband, like, it's not like the baby has an alarm in the utero that lets her know, oh, it's 28 weeks now, time to get consistent, time to get in a pattern. Her pattern seems to be inconsistency. And all the forums that I belong to, kiddo's blasting his iPad, by the way, so I'm sorry about the background noise. It's very distracting to me, so I imagine it must be distracting for you guys too. They basically in the forums are talking about how like people are 29 weeks, 30 weeks, and they're still not in a consistent pattern for baby. And so at what point should they worry? And everybody's always telling each other, like, if you're concerned, you should get checked out. But it doesn't seem abnormal to me that, 29 weeks, 30 weeks, baby is still not consistently moving around. So I don't know. Today is my first day of 28 weeks. So I guess at some point tonight, which is when she's her most active, typically, I'll do a kick count and see what's up. But yeah, I'm just kind of blown away that officially we're in the 3rd trimester now. Officially we're in the home stretch. It's just wild. It's wild to think about. Something else very whoa that happened today is I met my doula. Officially, she is my doula. We've decided to move forward together. I met her this morning in like a little virtual meeting, and we discussed, her experience as a doula and her background in medical assisting or nursing. And we discussed why I want a doula and how my birthing experience went with kiddo and so on and the trauma of that, which she brought up the word trauma first. So that made me feel vindicated is not the word, but like acknowledged, I guess. Like, okay, so it is trauma. Like, it's not just me thinking that. Like, somebody else that's been through a lot of births and seen a lot of births can hear my story and objectively say, okay, that was traumatic. That was a traumatizing experience. What happened to you? So I'm looking forward to working with her. She was telling me that the insurance pays for 3 prenatal visits that are an hour each, and then I believe 2 postpartum visits. So the postpartum visits obviously is like, well, not obviously, I suppose, if you're not familiar with doulaing, but that's where she would do like any sort of like lactation consulting and making sure I'm okay, making sure baby's okay, talking about nutrition and rest, etc. Just basically checking in on us. And now the AC went and turned on. But then for our prenatal appointments, she said that for this first one that we're going to do, the first hour-long visit, which is also going to be a virtual one, she told me that I could do either or, virtual or in person. I opted to do as many virtual ones as possible. So our next appointment is going to be actually a week from today. And in that appointment, we're going to be discussing my birth plan, the things I want, the things I don't want, and so on, so that she's prepared with exactly like my ideal birth, how it would work, and she can use that information to kind of help guide when actual labor happens. And I'm not sure what the second appointment is meant to cover, but I know she said that the last appointment would be an in-person one, because the last appointment she typically tries to do it at about the 37-week mark, and it's basically her prepping my body for labor. So I don't know if it's like teaching me laboring positions, or if it's some sort of like massage thing. I know she does belly binding and stuff, because I saw it on her website. So I honestly don't know what to expect from that appointment, except that it will be in person and it will be as close to my actual due date as possible. But yeah, this is really happening. This is like actually happening now. It's a thing. So I'm excited for that. And I told her my main concerns, actually the first one, I have two things that I want to make sure that she's able to do for me, right? And she brought up the first one, which I thought was great because again, like it shows that we're on the same page. The first time I gave birth with kiddo, or the first time I gave birth, which was to kiddo, there was a whole slew of interventions that really didn't need to happen, and the whole trauma of it all, etc. And it all could have been avoided if I had just stayed home, because I was not actually in labor, but I thought I was. I went to the hospital. They immediately admitted me instead of sending me home because I wasn't dilated, I wasn't having contractions. They said my water was broken, but that can't have been correct because 24 hours later, they had to manually break my water. So if I'd just not gone into the hospital that day, my entire life literally might be different. So she said to me, one of the things we do is when you think you might be in labor, I can either come over or, you know, virtually, whatever, kind of like assess you and let you know, yeah, based on what you're feeling, how you're behaving, etc., I think it's time you should go in. Or this is probably not active labor, you could still stay home, labor comfortably in your home, eat, etc. The more you can labor comfortably in your own home, the likelier success you're going to have as far as a safe, healthy, natural birth. And so that's huge because, again, if I'd had that sort of support the first time around, who knows how different our situation would be right now. And then the other thing I told her is that I've wanted a VBAC forever. For years, since I had him, I wanted a VBAC. Since I had him, I started looking into what it would take for me to have a VBAC. And so obviously that's important to me. But more important to me than the actual experience of delivering vaginally is establishing a good breastfeeding relationship with my daughter. Because with my son, I held on for 8 months, pumping for him and nursing him. And I was always an underproducer, and it was a struggle physically. It almost killed me mentally. It was such a horribly hard time, and I was so insistent on doing it because it was what was best for him. But at 8 months, I just couldn't do it anymore, and it wasn't benefiting him anymore because he was losing weight. Like, it was a struggle. I don't want to go through that again. But also, I have a ton of food allergies. Kiddo has a ton of food allergies that we didn't discover until he was 2 or 3 years old. So I don't want her to have to go through that either. And so the easiest way to avoid having to deal with that is to not have to supplement with formula whatsoever and to just have a good, stable breastfeeding relationship from jump. But in Kiddo's case, he was born overnight. I had been in labor for 2 days. I had an emergency surgery that was really hard on my body, and I was exhausted. I literally could not stay up any longer. I didn't even meet him until like 8 or 9 hours after he was born. And obviously by that point, he'd already been given formula, he'd already been given bottles. There was no skin to skin. All of the chemical things that happen when you birth a baby and your body goes, oh, we've just given birth, it's time to create milk, it's time to release these bonding hormones, etc. That didn't get to happen with us. And that set us off on the wrong foot from jump. Like, we never had a shot at a good nursing experience. And the fact that I held on for so long, well, you can only imagine how hard it was because everything was against us from the very beginning. So I told her, as much as I want a VBAC, I need a good breastfeeding relationship with her more than I need the VBAC. So if that means at some point you see how things are going and you say, if what you want is a good breastfeeding relationship, the best thing is to just give in now, have the C-section now, insist on skin to skin right away while you're still clear, right? While you still have your wits about you, while you're still able to like have your skin to skin and like recover with her and what have you. We'll make that part of the plan. And I told her, I want to trust you to tell me, hey, listen, if this is what you want, now is the time for this. And I want to be able to go along with that. So basically, I just don't want to have to fight with everybody the whole time I'm in labor, because that's what happened with my son, where everybody was against me. Nobody supported me going natural. Nobody supported me going unmedicated. And so while I'm fighting for my life in the worst pain I've ever been in, feeling zero emotional support, I'm also having to advocate for myself when I'm not even in this realm of existence, you know? And I just don't want to have to do that again. So I felt really, really heard by her, and I'm really, really happy that I'm going this route, and I'm hopeful that however little girl gets here, that it's obviously safe and we're both well at the end of it, but I'm hopeful that it will be healing regardless of the path that she ends up taking here. So that, I think, is the big headline of the week, besides the fact, obviously, that like, oh my gosh, we're in the 3rd trimester right now. Let me go ahead and give you guys a belly shot. I'm having to get on my tiptoes to show you guys what's really going on here, but like, that's little girl. My sister saw me on Christmas and she was like, wow, you're like all belly and butt. And like, yep, it's like I swallowed a giant cannonball. Something that's gone on this week too, I guess a couple little like new symptoms for me. The sniffles. They're typically happening when I first wake up, and they last a couple hours, and then as the day goes on it subsides, which is why I know that it's not that I'm sick. It's just dryness, and my son's flushing the toilet now. It's just the background noises keep on coming and they don't stop coming. So the sniffles are happening, which I kept saying like, oh, it hasn't happened yet, so hopefully I'll be spared, haha. Obviously not, but it's fine, because I remember with kiddo it lasted months, and I'm just kind of hopeful that it won't last months with little girl. But you know, it's fine, it's tolerable. I know what it is now, so it's just whatever, like I can handle it. And then the other thing that's happening, shortness of breath is still happening, but I feel like until I say to you guys, oh hey guys, I'm no longer short of breath, you should pretty much just assume that I'm constantly short of breath, because that's been going on for a long time and I don't see it going away. Something else that's gone on though is that I had to like get on my hands and knees to clean over the weekend, and I hadn't done that in a minute, and I don't know if that like tweaked something or like started something in my body, or if, you know, I'm in the 3rd trimester now and so it was going to happen regardless, but I'm having some like hip, gluteal, lower back type stiffness. It's not unmanageable, it's not straight up pain, it's discomfort. It's there enough that I can't like ignore it, but it's not to where it's like getting in the way of me doing anything yet. So it's just kind of something I'm dealing with. As such, I've developed a nice little waddle when I walk, but again, that's something that I feel like was probably going to happen in the 3rd trimester anyways, so it just is what it is. But otherwise, I'm still feeling really good. Like, all things considered, I'm feeling good. So I'm just happy to be here. Oh, by the way, I'm still doing the gestational diabetes testing every day. I did skip Christmas Eve and Christmas Day because I was grazing all day and it just didn't make sense for me to test 2 hours after eating when I was basically eating all the time. So I did skip those days. I'm gonna keep going until I have 14 days worth, which I think I should be done like by Monday or something. But so far so good. My fasting numbers in particular are a little higher than I'd like, which concerns me because there's really no excuse for your fasting numbers to be up unless there's a problem. But when I say up, I mean they're supposed to be max 95, and some days I'm waking up and they're 98 or they're 96. So again, it's not so high where I'm like, oh my gosh, obviously there's a huge problem here, we need to intervene right away. I probably need to be medicated, but it is still like potentially a cause for concern. And so, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to give her all of the numbers, all of the facts, and we'll go from there. Maybe she says, you know, we tried it your way, but now we do have to do the glucola test and see how that goes, which I would really rather not, but we'll see. So yeah, just wanted to give you guys an update on that. So for 28 weeks, little girl is as big as a clear landline phone. I had a clear landline phone growing up, but it didn't look like that. She's apparently as big as a bowling pin, as big as a head of lettuce, as big as Aladdin's magic lamp, and as big as Dorothy's ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz. I don't know what size Dorothy wore, so that doesn't really help me. But yeah, apparently she's about 15 inches long and weighs about 2¼ pounds right now. 12 weeks to go. If you're 28 weeks pregnant, you're in month 7 of your pregnancy, only 2 months left, which my dad asked me, like, what sense does that make? But you gotta look at it as, I'm at the end of December. So from the end of December to the end of January is month 7. From the end of January to the end of February is month 8. And from the end of February to the end of March is month 9. And I'm due at the end of March. So that's how they calculate that. So I am officially in month 7, but it's because I've just entered the 7th month. Baby is getting into the proper position for birth, which will be head down towards the nearest exit. Baby is busy these days blinking. She's working on an impressive repertoire of tricks like coughing, hiccuping, and breathing. Baby may even be dreaming. Brainwave activity measured in a developing fetus shows different sleep cycles, including REM phase sleep, the stage where dreaming occurs. That's super cool. I don't know what the heck she could be dreaming about. She's only ever seen the walls of my uterus, but okay. Okay, so as far as my symptoms this week, it says sciatica. The very first one is sciatica, tingling leg pain. I haven't had sciatica yet, but I've had, again, like my hips have been a little so maybe that's the beginning of sciatica. Sensitive skin, I haven't really experienced that yet, thank goodness. Itchy spots, etc. Not really. That's pretty much it. So it keeps talking about how she's experiencing rapid eye movement, how she can blink. Fetuses often stick out their tongues at this age. No one knows exactly why, but it's possible baby's tasting your amniotic fluid. So she's starting to make little faces and stuff. That's very exciting. So yeah, it says that today I should start doing my kick counts. Officially, the 3rd trimester is here and I am in it. There's 12 weeks left to go until my due date. Next week, I am meeting the doula again to discuss my birth plan. The week after that, I'm seeing my OB again. And at this point, since I am in the 3rd trimester, we're going to start doing twice monthly visits for January and February. And I believe that at the end of February, we begin weekly visits because at that point, we're pretty much on baby watch. So that's how that's going. And so, like I said, next week, doula. The week after, OB. The week after that, I actually don't have any appointments. And the week that follows, I have not only my OB, but also an ultrasound because they want to do a growth scan. And I guess to like see baby's position in utero, at that point, I'll be 32 weeks. So they kind of want to see how everything's progressing. So that's the next month in appointments. But yeah, so far so good. Like I said, I'm feeling great, all things considered. I'm really happy to have met the doula and to have decided to move forward with her. I'm ecstatic about getting to the 3rd trimester. Like, this still doesn't seem real to me that this is actually happening. Little girl got so many things for Christmas, and it was so nice to see her name on like labels and stuff. Like, it makes it feel extra real. Oh, and I forgot to mention, my gosh, there's going to be a lot happening in the next several months. But yeah, so like I said, next week, doula. Let's go through this again. Doula, OB, no appointments, OB and scan, and then the week that follows, I don't have any appointments, but that's the weekend of my baby shower. So it's going to be a lot happening in the coming weeks, and I'm really, really excited to share it all with you guys. Oh, something else that happened. This is unrelated, but sort of, because it's kind of like, you know, painting my experience. My cousin's cousin, so she's not related to me because my cousin and I are related by his mom, and this is a cousin that he has through his dad. So you know, my cousin's cousin. She announced her pregnancy around the same time as I did, so we're just about the same amount of pregnant. But about a week ago now, she had her baby. So he was born before even getting to the 3rd trimester, if I'm not mistaken. And thank goodness, by the grace of all the deities, he's well. And she's well, and, you know, so far so good. But that's really made, like, little girl's quiet days extra scary for me, because I'm still not sure exactly how it came to be that he was born so early, like what tipped her off that, like, oh crap, I should go to the hospital, something's wrong, or like, because we're not tight like that. Like I said, she's my cousin's cousin, so like I just like know her, but I don't know her to be like, hey, so what happened? Tell me about this traumatizing thing that happened in your life. I want to know all about it. But yeah, that's definitely painted, or like, you know, put a tint over my thoughts now of like, oh my gosh, any moment now she could literally be here, because it's already happened to somebody I know. And thank goodness for every day that she's still in my belly, growing safely, healthily, and so on. But it also makes it really, really real that like, yo, she could literally be here any minute. And so we really have to get a move on stuff. So we're on Christmas break now, and I'm using my Christmas break to organize things, purge things, finish the registry, make lists, like all the things that still need to happen. I'm doing my best to use my time. Obviously, I'm trying to rest also, because that's what I really want to be doing. But I'm trying to be efficient with my time and do what I can to like organize things around the house and get stuff ready, so that the amount of things left kind of matches the amount of time left, but also we just don't know how much time we have left. So anyways, again, I figured it was worth mentioning that, even though it has nothing to do with me personally, but just because knowing that this happened, and not just like, oh, someone I know, you know, I heard a story about this happening. It's like, no, this is somebody that I know, that I've met, that like, and it's just happened to her like literally last week. So it's very, very real and very like at the front of my mind. And so, yeah. So anyways, week 28, it is here. The next few weeks are going to be a lot, and I'm really looking forward to them. And so I hope that you will come back next week for the update, and we will chat again really, really soon. Bye.